Have you ever felt like you're drifting through life, not because you're weak, but because the world keeps pulling you away from yourself? We wake up to screens, spend the day chasing goals we didn't set, scroll past lives we don't live, and lie in bed wondering why we still feel empty. Our calendars are full, our minds are cluttered, and somehow, peace has become a luxury we don't have time for. But what if I told you that the clarity you've been looking for was written 400 years ago by a man who walked away from fame, from victory, even from violence, and chose stillness? This isn't a story about a samurai. It's a story about you, about all of us. Because whether you hold a sword or a smartphone, the battle is the same. The fight for focus, for self-control, for a life that actually means something. Miyamoto Musashi, one of the most undefeated warriors in Japanese history, spent his final days writing not about how to defeat others, but how to master yourself. He called it Dokkōdō, the way of walking alone. But make no mistake, this isn't about loneliness. It's about independence, integrity, inner strength. And in a world drowning in distractions, these 21 principles hit harder than ever. This isn't just ancient wisdom. It's your wake-up call. In the next few minutes, I'm not going to give you the typical self-help checklist. I'm going to take you into a mindset forged in silence, discipline, and radical honesty. A mindset that doesn't ask you to become someone else, but to return to who you really are. Because the truth is, you don't need more motivation. You need direction. You don't need more noise. You need alignment. And Musashi, he left a map. Are you ready to follow it? Before we dive into the 21 life-changing principles, let's talk about the man behind them. Not the warrior from textbooks, not the swordmaster from legends, but the human being. Miyamoto Musashi was undefeated in over 60 duels, a name that echoed across Japan. But what people often forget is that he didn't just win with technique, he won with mindset. His victories weren't driven by ego, but by clarity. He wasn't obsessed with domination. He was obsessed with truth. Musashi lived in a world far more brutal than ours, where a single mistake could mean death. Yet even in that chaos, he realized something profound, that the greatest enemy we face is not the one across the battlefield, but the one within. Our own fear, our own attachments, our own noise. In the final days of his life, Musashi walked away from the world. He went to a cave, yes, a literal cave, not to hide, but to reflect. There, stripped of distractions, stripped of luxury, he wrote down his truth. Not as a legacy, not for fame, but for clarity, for simplicity, for the one person who needed it most, himself. What came out of that silence was a short but powerful list of 21 principles, a personal code, a spiritual compass, a way of walking through life when the world gets too loud and the path too foggy. He called it Dokkōdō, the way of walking alone. But maybe it's not really about walking alone. Maybe it's about walking true, walking inward, walking forward, no matter what. This isn't ancient poetry. It's raw, it's simple, it's painfully honest. And somehow, it feels like it was written not in the 1600s, but for this exact moment in time. For people like you and me who are just trying to figure out how to live in a world that never stops spinning. Every generation faces its own battles. But in many ways, today's war is quieter. It doesn't come with swords or armies. It comes with distraction, doubt, and disconnection. We're not bleeding, but we're tired. Not starving, but often empty. And that's why these ancient principles still matter. Not because they tell us how to fight, but because they teach us how to return to ourselves. Let's begin where we often struggle most, the mind. In a world addicted to speed and stimulation, our thoughts have become chaotic. We're overwhelmed by choices, consumed by comparisons, paralyzed by what-ifs. Musashi knew this chaos well, even centuries ago. He knew that without discipline, the mind becomes its own worst enemy. His principle? Never act on partial feelings. Because clarity doesn't come from emotion. It comes after emotion passes. If we keep reacting to every trigger, we become slaves to every moment. But if we learn to wait, to watch, to breathe, we step into power. Stillness becomes strength. And then there's the trap of desire. Modern life tells us to want more likes, more followers, more pleasure, more comfort. But Musashi reminds us, if we chase pleasure for its own sake, we end up owned by it. Not because pleasure is wrong, but because it was never meant to be the destination. When we attach our worth to what we consume or achieve, we lose our center. His teachings ask us to hold things lightly, to enjoy without clinging, to stop letting desire make our choices for us. The truth is, real freedom doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. Emotions, too, become cages when left unchecked. Jealousy, anger, regret. We've all felt them, scrolling through someone else's success, remembering words we wish we hadn't said, replaying moments we can't undo. But Musashi teaches us not to dwell. Don't hold on to regret. Don't carry resentment. Don't envy others' paths. Because the past cannot be changed, only understood. And the more we carry what no longer serves us, the less room we have for what could grow. Letting go isn't weakness. It's how we create space for healing. Then comes the ego, that quiet whisper, convincing you that you're more important than others, or not enough compared to them. Ego flips back and forth. One day, it tells you you're the best. The next, that you're nothing. But Musashi doesn't play that game. He asks us to think lightly of ourselves and deeply of the world. Not to erase our worth, but to balance it with humility. To step outside of ourselves. To remember we are one part of something vast. In a time when everyone's building a brand or chasing status, this is radical wisdom. You are enough, even without being seen. And what about rules, customs, and expectations? Society tells you what to wear, how to live, what success should look like. But Musashi says, don't follow customs blindly. If you never question the world around you, you might live your entire life on someone else's path. His message isn't rebellion for the sake of it. It's awareness. Know why you live the way you live. Make conscious choices, not inherited habits. That's how you walk with authenticity. The final battlefield is mortality. Not just death, but our fear of it. Fear of not doing enough. Not being enough. Not leaving a legacy. Musashi didn't fear death. He embraced its reality. He wrote that one should not obsess over living long, but rather live true. And when you accept that time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop waiting for permission. You stop living like you have forever, because you don't. And that truth, when held with courage, becomes the greatest motivator of all. Each of these principles is a mirror. They don't tell you who to be. They reflect who you already are when everything else falls away. That's the essence of Dokkōdō, walking with yourself, not because you're alone, but because you've finally decided to stop running. Maybe you're not ready to walk alone, and that's okay. The truth is, we're all still learning how to stand still, to listen, to look inward, to live with intention in a world that pushes us to move faster and feel less. But here's the thing. You don't need to master all 21 principles today. You don't need to retreat to a cave or carry a sword. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Maybe today, that start looks like letting go of a regret that's been living in your chest for too long. Or maybe it's choosing not to react when anger knocks at your door. Maybe it's spending one moment, just one, truly present, truly quiet, truly aware. That's what this path is. Not a set of rules to memorize, but a way of being to explore. Slowly, honestly, courageously. You're not here to be someone else. You're here to remember who you are when you stop chasing what the world told you to want. That's the real walk. That's your Dokkōdō. And if this message speaks to something deep inside you, something tired of the noise, something longing for clarity, then let's keep walking together. Hit subscribe, because this isn't a one-time inspiration. It's a journey, a mindset, a community of people who want to live with depth, not just speed. Drop a comment below and share one principle that hit you the hardest. Or tell me, what are you ready to let go of? Because the most powerful thing about this path is that it's yours. No one can walk it for you. But you also don't have to walk it alone.